Tonight we will be in 1 Samuel chapter 15. Probably a pretty familiar story to most of us. We are on the fifth lesson of 8 that I had for August and September that I'm using the title, Does God Mean What He Says? And we are going to look at Saul tonight. And Saul's going to be given a task to do, and he partially did it and partially did not do it. And we are going to see what God's response is in that situation. I will start by reading the first 23 verses, and we'll get the rest of it here a little later on. Samuel said to Saul, I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people, Israel. So listen now to the message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them when they came up from Egypt. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy everything that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. So Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men from Judah. Saul went to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the ravine. Then he said to the Kenites, Go away, leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along with them, for you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur to the east of Egypt. He took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with a sword. But Saul and the army spared Agag and the best of the sheep and cattle, the fat calves and the lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. I am grieved that I have made Saul king, because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. Samuel was troubled, and he cried out to the Lord all that night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up and went to meet Saul, but he was told, Saul has gone to Carmel. There he has set up a monument in his own honor and has turned and gone down to Gilgal. When Samuel reached him, Saul said, The Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions. But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle that I hear? Saul answered, The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and the cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God, but we totally destroyed the rest. Stop, Samuel said to Saul. Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night. Tell me, Saul replied. Samuel said, Although you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become the head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and he sent you on a mission saying, Go and completely destroy those wicked people, the Amalekites. Make war on them until you've wiped them out. Why then did you not obey the Lord? Why did you pounce on the plunder and do evil in the eyes of the Lord? But I did obey the Lord, Saul said. I went on a mission the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites and brought back Agag, their king. The soldiers took sheep and cattle from their plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal. But Samuel replied, Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the voice of the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. As we sit back and we look at this story, it's pretty easy to see what Saul did wrong. I'm afraid many times in our own lives that we can fall into the very same situation. It's easy for us to say, well, I see what it says, but I think this. Or I know what he said to do, but I think this is a little better way of doing it. It is easy to fall into that type of thinking, and that's the thinking that is going to get Saul in a tremendous amount of trouble here in this chapter. And I guess the lesson for us here is like what the title says. Yes, God does mean what he says. So when he tells you what to do, that is what you go and do. Exactly. No more, no less. Just do what he said to do. We have seen that theme in the previous 4 lessons, and you're seeing that theme here once again. Excuse me. As we start chapter 15, what did Samuel have for Saul? Yeah, a word from the Lord, a message from God. God has revealed something to me that he wants you to do. Now, if somebody said that to you, would you be all ears? Now, I do think that Saul is listening and hearing this, and I do believe he understands exactly what Saul is going to say to him. Well, what is it that God wants Saul to do? Yeah, totally destroy the Amalekites. He gives instructions. I want every man, woman, child, sheep, goats, whatever they have. I want every living thing that belongs to the Amalekite to be put to death. Now, a whole lot of folks in this day and time are going to read that, and they are going to say, well, I don't want a God like that. I've heard them say it. A God that puts infants to death? Why did God want the Amalekites to be destroyed? Yes. We find in verse 2, it is because of what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. So I want you to picture all the Israelites as they are marching along. Well, the Amalekites came up and attacked the rear end of them. Now I want you to think about who would have been in that. Yeah, the old. And I do think that there is a couple that has several kids. It's not easy to get all kids moving in the same direction all the time, is there? I think about nursing mothers. So that's those that are elderly, or those that are worried about their kids, or it is those that are weak. Maybe there's someone who's got bad hips, bad knees, bad ankles, just not moving along very good. And here come the Amalekites, and they are going to attack and to kill many of them. We find in Exodus chapter 17, verses 8 to 16, the story where that did take place. It says that they attacked Israel at Rephidim. And here is a time that Moses had his hands held up high by those that were there with him. And it says in that particular passage that the Lord was at war with him. Remember, as long as his hands were going to be held up, that indeed the Israelites would be winning. The Amalekites were not